All right, let's do our final steps. I switched over to a file from one of my students because it is beautifully retouched and ready to go. All right, I'm going to grab the crop tool, and you can either move in the little handles like this, bring this in, like so. Oops. Computer's running a little slow. You can just move the handle like that. I am going to delete the crop pixels and use the arrows to make sure I can move my image up and down in that crop preview and hit return. Okay, now we've got a nice clean image. It doesn't matter what layer you crop on because you are cropping the image. Let's go to the very top layer where we straightened our horizon. And I'm going to make another stamp visible so that I can address how this one side is slightly darker than the other. Shift Command Option E makes another stamp visible layer. Now your file's getting a little chunky, but that's all right. Let's go to the shortcut is O. The dodging tool will withhold some of the exposure from that one side. The burn tool will add. And in the history of Photoshop, no one's ever used the sponge tool. So let's grab the dodge tool. And what that's going to do is take away some exposure just in the part we apply it to. I'm not going to keep it on shadows with 100. As you can see, that's going to lighten things up pretty quick. And that's not exactly what we want. We want kind of subtle lifting of exposure on this one side. So I'm going to go to midtones and bring the exposure down a little bit. And then with a nice big soft brush, kind of move over this side. I think that's still a little too much exposure. Bring it down even more. And then brush it back. Brush it off the front a little. And there you go. Before and after. If it's a little extreme, you can always take the opacity of this layer down a little, and that should blend it in perfectly. All right. One of your options for colorizing is to add an additional black and white layer and add a tint. You can select any color you choose. You can work again with these sliders. I think they're pretty good though. That's one option if you would like to add a very slight tint to it. Or if you would like to colorize the image, make a blank layer at the top, a new blank layer, call it color, zoom in a little bit, grab the brush tool, normal, 100, 100, perfect. And then with a color selected from the color picker, click in your foreground color, select a blue if you choose, and then you can just start painting. Now this doesn't look that great, right? The color is sitting on top of the image. Not exactly what I'm looking for. So what I need to do is change the way that this layer's information looks when it is applied to the information below. So right now it's normal, it's just sitting on top, but if I change it to multiply, I can start to see some of the information below, which can be really nice. There are other options you can choose, like soft light, but the best is to experiment with these layer blending modes and the opacity of the layer. And then you can just change the size of your brush and move around and add any color you choose to the image. I would paint the entire image, sky. Anything you paint on this gentleman is probably not going to come out that well, seeing as it is very, very dark, but you could add some additional tones to this image. The final step, let's say we go with a tint, would be to add an adjustment layer to make the blacks a little blacker, add a little bit of contrast, and you could use the levels or the curves. I'm going to add a simple levels layer on top, and then using this slider, take the black slider just a couple points to the right to increase the contrast. And then grab the white slider and move that till you can see the first recorded pixel. Want to adjust the midtones? You can do that using the gray slider in the center. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. However you choose to finish it off with color or a tinted black and white adjustment layer or anything that you choose, but make sure you do the entire image so that you address the entire composition. File save, and you're done.